Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us for our next in the series of webinars supporting our coaches, players, schools and clubs in return to rugby. Today I'm joined by another one of our Rugby Development Officers, Neill Alcorn, and our theme today is to talk through how we would use small-sided games within our training sessions. Good afternoon, Neill. How are you?
I'm not too bad. How are you guys?
Good. Thank you very much. Okay, Neill, if you don't mind, I'm sort of going to try and flick up and share just a couple of slides and sort of get your views on really how coaches can try and plan to incorporate some small-sided games within their sessions. Okay, Neill, if we don't mind sort of starting with this first slide and maybe just in your words, if you just maybe want to give us a little brief overview of what you understand small-sided games being and maybe why as coaches we'd want to use those within our sessions.
Yeah, so for me, my interpretation of a small-sided game is reduced numbers completely. So you can bring it all the way down, as you can see an example, like 3-on-3, 5-on-5, and you can build. The main reason why we want to look at and what we kind of push our small-sided games is we've used it quite a lot in some of our rep squads, and even when we're out and about with some of our coaching sessions in clubs and schools. The big benefit we found from it is that you've got guys who might never have more than maybe 2 or 3 touches of the ball in a whole session are now getting, maybe double figures of touches, and it really, really improves their game and their awareness of the game. And you even get sometimes, they come away from practice and you hear them going, I scored 4 tries. They've never scored 4 tries, so kind of giving them the enjoyment of the game and the passion to keep going. You also then, not just the hand-eye coordination and the ball transfer stuff you're working on so many different factors that they might not have worked on within the positions they play. So it could be lines of running, it could be just simple feet work and contact, and you can completely change the size of the pitch. So you can go from a small grid and expand. And once you expand, you actually see them trying to problem solve. It's exactly what we need to see when we're actually playing the game.
Brilliant. No, absolutely. And I think, we've all seen those examples where we perhaps, use a drill. And as you say, there's not those problem solving or decision making aspects. And the game continuously puts those players in those different scenarios. Just you talked a little bit about, I suppose, the number of touches. I think, this little slide, I suppose, is a good one for putting in context. We appreciate it from another sport in terms of football. But, what does this slide tell you just in terms of, Neill, and how maybe we should influence what we do as coaches?
You can see straight away there the number of touches increase from when you go from 8-on-8 down to 4v4. The touches of players just go up dramatically. That's one thing, as I said before, we find really, really, really encouragement for us and develop, because sometimes even at a young age, like under 14 or 16, you don't want to pigeonhole a player to be at a certain position, because then they might not develop as they go. And it's like you have the big, strong, athletic guys and girls that will just get the ball and run and they get through. So you really want to try and develop as much skill development as possible. And through small-sided games, we've seen massive benefits from it.
No, absolutely. And I think, that's really important. And suppose if we developed that out and looked at it from a rugby context, if that was 15 against 15, as you rightly say, there may be some players in the pitch that are very limited, if any, touches in the ball, and particularly when we start to categorize those people in positions and limit them around, what they can or can't do. The benefits of having small-sided games then allows those people, a great deal more opportunities in terms of their involvements in the game. Okay, Neill, one of the challenges we quite often face as coaches is around the conditioning of games. I would just be interested to sort of get your thoughts on, how you would encourage, suppose, some of the key habits we want to try and promote our players to display even within our games. So even though we may be delivering certain games, what would be some of the key attributes you're promoting that's really, really important our players display?
Well, funny, we've talked about this as staff a number of times, and one of our development officers, Dan Maxwell, he is. It's funny when you're with the coaching session with him, he is so strict on simple wee things of 2 hands on the ball, feeding beat as soon as you get close to the defender. And it's quite funny because maybe the first 1 or 2 minutes, players get a wee bit frustrated because they get so annoyed because they're used to shooting one hand, and then as soon as maybe after 2 or 3 minutes, the players, like the boys and girls, get it straight away, and you don't have to repeat themselves, and it just comes second nature to it. So the big thing we definitely push is 2 hands on the ball, catch the ball early, try and beat the defender with feet, not just go through them, and pass the ball nice and early away from contact. they're a key go homes for players. They really encourage head up rugby, trying to see what you've got, and if you think you can beat the defender, go for it, but make sure core things, 2 hands on the ball, and play what's in front of you.
Absolutely, and I think we all agree that those skills are skills that can be transferred between any game, but also going to be really important for any game of the future as well. So around those core skills, it's really important we continuously encourage those really good habits within any game we're playing. If you're happy, Neill, I just wouldn't mind sort of flicking through some of the games that you've pulled together, and maybe if you can just give us a little sort of 20 to 30 second overview in some of the games to sort of give coaches some ideas of how they could use these games within their session. So I think you guys have named them after countries. So I think this first one's Fiji. If you maybe just want to sort of talk us through what that incorporates.
Yeah, so within the Fiji game, like as you say, the game is pretty simple. We look at is the attacking side must score within 2 phases of ball turned over. So it's real emphasis on, again, the key habits: ball into hands, pass early, and beat the defenders. And the guys even saying as well, you can break off a big game into bring it into practice with your backs or your forwards and really push it on them, and you can limit the amount of touches, the amount of phases that you want to bring into. But the big thing we look at, and it's really good because it gets the transition as well between attack and defence. So your team could be attacking for 2, don't get the ball, straight turnover, and that's where you see then the gaps. That's where you see space, and then hopefully they can identify it.
Brilliant. Okay. Just move on to the next one, France then.
Yeah, so game is simple. Attack within 3 phases to score, three phases away from the breakdown, reset the phase, defence lines must retreat 5 metres, go chest to the ground, and each touch is low. So what that does is, as soon as you get, so it might be a bit hard to understand. So if I was run towards you with the ball and you get a touch, your whole team has to go back 5 metres. I have to go down, get the ball and pass it away. That then gives the attack more opportunity to have a look, and there might be a bit of dog legs in the defensive line, and that's where you hope that the players on the outside might create space. It gives loads of opportunity for questioning, open questions. You can run about and ask questions. Where's the space? Hopefully get 1 or 2 quick answers, and we go from there.
Good, absolutely. Brilliant, thank you. Wallabies then?
Yeah, so the Wallabies is the defence win turnovers, attack doesn't deliver ball back in 5 seconds. So this is a real emphasis, and you can see with the rules changing with the breakdown, it's real hit that ground. There's no more rule, so it's a real emphasis on that ball carrier to get that ball back as quick as possible. So as a coach, you got to be on top of your counts, because if your 5 seconds is a bit sooner than the last 5 seconds, you'll definitely hear from the players. So consistency is definitely key. So the big thing is it's a real emphasis on the attack, but also defence. They have to get set really, really quickly, otherwise balls away and they're on the back foot.
Good. I know something maybe we're going to talk about a little bit later, but I imagine there, Neill, then there'd be opportunities to condition the numbers in the breakdown. So as a coach, it may be 1v1, 2v2, etc., and really working some of those breakdown skills and also the defensive aspect of trying to turn over and slow the ball.
Massively, yeah. Again, as you say, Gav, you can completely change it. So you could say, for example, the attack might be allowed to have 1 in the breakdown, and the defence can have 2 in the breakdown. So it's real emphasis on that support player getting the ball real strong, stable position. So you can kind of give license to also the players that they might only have to hit so many breakdowns in different positions of the field and make the attack really question themselves when the best time to attack is.
Okay, next one then, Springboks.
Yeah, so this is quite a good one actually. So in this one here, how it works is defence not allowed to fall around. So that really puts a lot of pressure on the defence side, but also the attack side, because they'll hopefully be getting numbers up. So how that will work is if it's an open play and the ball goes in the middle and there's 1 touch, anyone on that where the ball just came from, that blind side or the snapback side, they have to stay, and the open side stay as it is. So there's no one allowed to come around that breakdown. They have to stay put on the blind side, which then hopefully gives them more for the attack side to go at. And again, with this one, you can add more rules in, as we talk hopefully later on about. You can put in kicks, you can put in rubber kicks, and then hopefully the attack can still fall down and hopefully get more numbers on.
Absolutely, I think that'd be interesting to sort of see how the defence adjusts in terms of, as you say, having numbers down. Do they play a little bit softer on the edge? Perhaps then once they do get that touch, does that give us the opportunity of generating a little bit more line speed, etc., off the touchline? So I'd be really interested to see that one in practice. Samoa then, if you want to talk through that one.
Yeah, so 5-touch turnover. First touch is offload. Second touch, ball must go to the ground. The defence get turnover if they can stop the attack within 2 phases. So this one's it's all go with the attack and defence. And what's really good in this one is that one thing you worry about sometimes you go into the touches is as soon as you get touched, the guys can go stop the momentum. What we want to see is as soon as you get touched, you gotta keep going, because you don't want that to translate into when you actually go into tackle. You don't want someone to stop in the tackle contact. You want them to keep fighting through. So in this one, the first one is a lovely offload, get away, and the second one has to be ball to floor. Now, you always get asked this question no matter, but every time you explain it, it does. If I touch someone once, I cannot touch them again. So you can't go double tap. It has to be one touch and then someone else. Yeah. So it's really live, effective game. And the big thing is then you actually can reward the defence. So you can put on scores for the attack and defence and actually see how many times. So you could say if defence get the turnover back within 2 phases, that's 5 points. So you're putting a lot of emphasis on the defence to really work on that.
Good, yeah. And imagine, as you say, we can promote some really good defensive principles around, double touches or double tackles there that, really slows down the ability of the attack then to generate some momentum. Super. Just the last one then is All Blacks.
Yeah, so this one you can use this in a number of different aspects, which is quite good. So the All Blacks is attack has to get a time frame to get a total number of phases to go forward and enter a new pitch. So you could say, okay, we're in our 22. You have say maybe 4 phases to get out of the 22 in between the 22 and a half or into the 10 meter, and you can just leave it at that. Now they have every right to do whatever they want on that. They could do a crossfit kick, they could do an up and under, whatever it has to be, or a box kick. You can leave it up to whatever it is, or you can put restraints on it. But you give them a certain time or a certain number of phases to go. See, when you do this, you start to see that the clock's going in the brain and the ticker's going, how can we do this? And don't be afraid just to say to the players, okay, not successful, go back and try something else.
Yeah.
Just give them opportunities to keep learning and trying new things.
Absolutely, and I think that's really important, and a really a good coaching skill to have is the ability that I think you alluded to at the start, Neill, is we've got to give players the freedom, suppose, to problem solve, but also then give them the opportunity to try it again as well. So if things aren't successful, they may be able to come up with different solutions, and it just may take them 3, 4, or 5 attempts to get it right. And it's important that we build in that time to allow them to do it. Just in the next slide, Neill, and quite often as coaches, we've got a game in our mind, and we sort of plan and deliver that game, and then we want to try and think as coaches, suppose, how we can develop that game. Is there any different conditions or constraints we can put on the attack or defence that promote certain aspects? Do you maybe just want to sort of pull out a couple of examples and sort of, I guess, go through how you would use that as a coach to try and maybe encourage the attack to do certain things or create opportunities from a defensive perspective as well?
Yeah, so the first thing you think of is you can overload straight away the attack and defence. So still within a small sided game, if you really want to try and really push on the attack, to try and attack wide spaces or attack through the middle, whatever the spaces outcome, you can maybe go 6-on-4. And it's so surprising when you go 6-on-4, there's space everywhere, there's loads of spaces all over the place, and you still get players that will take it up and go into contact, because that's what they do in that position. When you're sitting there going, can you see that there's actually spaces out wide, and just throw them back into it again. So on the attack side of things, you could look at that. You could put different zones of marking in, different points. Okay, if you get out wide here, you get points that way. If you go through the middle, you get points. You then put emphasis on. So in through your practices, for example, if you're trying to work on your cross-field kicks to your backs, for example, you might say if you can successfully and the right opportunity to do a cross-field kick, you could actually get maybe 5 points or you get 10 points if it's successful. The only sometimes worry is when you tell kids or players or adults crossfield kicks, they'll do crossfield kicks every single attempt of a goal. Doesn't mean that they're wrong, but because during your session, what sometimes happens is you might focus on certain aspects. You might, we're going to look at offloading today, but as soon as you go into the game, there's no offloading. And you're trying to emphasize to them, what do we just practice, put that into place. So you could have layers of games throughout your session and layers of reduced stuff, and you keep adding different layers to the game. That's on the attack side of things. And then with the defense side of things, you can maybe tell them, first and third ruck, I don't want you to hit it. I just want you to stand back, or I don't want you to engage in it, and just see what the attack does. If the attack put 2 or 3 numbers in, what does that then create? Okay, that gives you more numbers in defence. So what would your defence might be? Numbers up, so you might blitz instead of a soft. So you're always trying to challenge the players into thinking what might happen in a match situation, because when it comes to a Saturday or Wednesday, you're at the touchline. It's up to them guys to problem solve, and that's the big thing which I find at small sided games really emphasise and develops players.
Good. You talked a little bit there, Neill, just about maybe how you would adapt some of your scoring systems. Could you maybe just give us a couple of examples, of what you've done in the past around using different scoring within games that may promote, different tactical attributes of the player?
Yeah, we actually tried this out last year in one of our senior camps in the summer. The kids had never really seen it before, so what we looked at was if you offload it within a tackle, you get 2 points. If the defence does a good, we call it a chop tackle below waist, they get 2 points. Now your math is going to be pretty good, so if you can do like 5s or 2s, so it's easy to add up. It always helps because the players definitely do ask. But you put emphasis on the key aspects you've learned in the day or learned in the session, and then you bring it into the game. So you could say, if you get 3 passes for contact, that's 5 points or 2 points. If you can do a crossfield kick and gather, that's 10 points. If you score within certain remits of the play, or if there's no breakdown through the whole play, so if you can keep the ball alive until you score, you get 10 points. So you keep adding layers on, and to be honest, the players when we were between 14 and 16, they absolutely loved it, and they said it was enjoyable. We were standing back as coaches and just letting them play. And then at times you maybe came in, told them to score and told them what they could do differently, and maybe just say, right, go and talk to each other. What can you do to try and get more points? How you get more points? Because see, at the end of the day, if you only give the try maybe 2 points and give other stuff like more points than a try, you're actually going to emphasise and develop more good practice as the session goes out.
Oh, brilliant. And I think, one of the things you mentioned, particularly within our youth rugby, is where you get maybe some of those players that physically dominate the games as well. Provides that opportunity where I suppose the opposition or other players within the team can get rewarded for some of the tactical aspects, but also then stretches and challenges that player as well. Can they be rewarded in terms of developing other aspects of their game as well? So, as you've said there, maybe incentives for 3 passes. Yeah. That player that usually maybe just touches the ball and runs through everybody, there's an opportunity now where actually they get rewarded for focusing on developing their passing skills. And just the last little box, I think, is just supposed to highlight something we went through with Darryl in our last presentation, was really just how as coaches we can continually condition our games in terms of contact level. So, there's certainly no reason why we couldn't look at, for example, delivering our Samoa game and as a warm-up game that may be contact level 1, which is touch rugby, and then later on the session we're progressing that towards it becomes a little bit more of a bump tackle as well, and it's a really useful skill for coaches to have.
Yeah, 100%. Like we would use a lot of those games throughout, and the big thing we always try and do is you do obviously your warm and then go straight into a bit of a game. It switches the players on, and then it also then sets the standard for the session. So if you think the standard's gone down, you be like, right, to the game, 2 missed passes, blah blah. And then the players go, okay, right, we're ready to go here. But the chart's perfect. We would use a number of those games and say, and once, even if you don't have to name them like Samoa, New Zealand, you can have your own type of names as coaches. But once the players get used to it, they can, as soon as you say, right, playing Samoa as a warm up, it's just touch. You don't have to go over the rules and the procedure. They'll know it straight away, and they can go straight into it. And as you can see, you'll actually find that some of the players are like, oh, I really enjoyed this game. Can we try this then with a contact, and give them a wee bit of freedom to say, okay, coach, can we try this today and put this restraint on it and so forth. So you're giving them a wee bit of ownership as well.
Good. Okay, last thing, Neill, I just want to chat through was really as a coach is, how you would think about your session or your practice design. So I think, we're all in agreement the importance of how we can use small-sided games within our practice, but how would you build that in then to incorporate some of your block practice? So in terms of, focus on some of those skills. So I see the example here you've pulled together in terms of the session plan is we're using Samoa's or small-sided game. What would you be focusing on here then from a skill development point of view?
So within the Samoa game, if you can remember, it was basically 1 touch is an offload, 2 touch hit the floor and get the ball back. So during that game, as a coach, it's really important you just don't let the players play and you can stand back. But you can see, okay, we're not getting our offloads correctly. We're looking at our running lines of our support play. The guy or girl on the ground just needs that wee bit more fight. So then from that, you can have an idea, okay, block one is this skill. And don't be afraid to go, okay, we're really not working. In the game we just did, we need to work a bit better on our feet work. So as you see there, one-on-one, feed and beat, just try and get on the outside. That's how we would look at it. So the big thing for us is to try and make sure the good habits from what will happen in the game in the block practice, and then bring that part again into the game at the end. So you still add in layers onto each game.
No, super. And I think then, suppose the skill of coaching, Neill, is what's appropriate in terms of where we start our players within that practice. So it may be that actually our footwork's really good, the 1v1 skill, but the thing we want to really focus on is support play. So it may be appropriate for us to start with some players at the 2v1 aspect or the 2v2. Some other individual players then, we may want to try and support them around, developing their footwork skills and their ability to beat defenders as well. Okay, Neill, thank you very much for taking us through that. Hopefully there's lots of really useful sort of ideas and resources there that our youth and senior coaches can incorporate into their sessions over the next few weeks. Coaches, please do keep checking out our website. We will be uploading this material and these recordings for you guys to access as you do return to rugby. And we'll be following this up again next week with another recording with one of our Rugby Development Officer. But thank you very much, Neill.
No problem. Thank you very much, guys. See ya.